I know it must have been a whirlwind, but looking back now and reflecting, what was the most powerful moment to you?
To me, it was. I mean, there were many in the trial, and I'm tempted to say it was the testimony of our clients, Ms. Freeman and Ms. Moss, because it was just the courage that I think it took for them to take the stand, and to open themselves up to cross-examination and questioning, and to relive these vile, just horrible threats that they received in voicemails and text messages that were played in open court. We had the actual voicemails from their phones, played them in open court for everyone to listen to, had the text messages that they got. So I think I'm tempted to say that, but really I think for me the moment was when the jury came out and announced its verdict, because I think that verdict was a message about the worth, the value of Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss's reputations. Right? It was a signal that their lives, their reputations are worth just as much as a celebrity or a billionaire's life or reputation is, and that's not the worth of their reputations and lives shouldn't be discounted because they were election workers in Georgia. They should be compensated based on what happened to them and how harmful and devastating the conduct was to their reputation. So to me, when the jury read that verdict, it was a moment where everyone in the courtroom sort of could simultaneously experience real accountability and a real moment of accountability and justice.
When you heard that number, because I know I've been following the case, when I saw that number, I thought I misread it because it was so large and it was way higher than anticipated. Were you surprised when you heard 148 million?
Um, was I surprised? I'm not sure I was surprised. I think there was some. I think there was some misunderstanding in the way our request for damages was reported, and so our request for damages was frequently reported in the press as though we were only asking for reputational damages, and so we had a range that our expert was prepared to testify to for what the reputational damages to our clients should be. And that was the sort of range that was being reported on, as you saw in the press, saying Ms. Freeman and Ms. Moss are asking for up to 47 or 48 million dollars or something like that. I think what that left out was that we weren't asking for a specific number for emotional distress damages, and we weren't asking for a specific number for punitive damages. We were leaving that to the jury's discretion. And I think that I always thought that the jury might well award a greater number for emotional distress damages based on what happened to our clients than for reputational damages. I think we had excellent expert testimony on reputational harm and a method for measuring and understanding, quantifying in real numbers reputational harm based on the total number of impressions caused by the defamatory statements that Mr. Giuliani made. But for emotional harm, the jury really had to relive for a week what it was like to be Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, starting in early December, and getting people showing up to your house trying to perform a citizen's arrest on you, people harassing your grandmother, having your 14-year-old son who's at home trying to go through remote virtual school during COVID, having him kicked off of his classes because of voicemails and calls coming in that are threatening calls, just using vile racist language, talking about hanging them in the trees in front of their house. Statements like "Be glad it's 19" or "Be glad it's 2020" rather than 1920. These were real messages, and I know that there's been some. I've seen some shows that Mr. Giuliani has gone on where commentators have suggested, well, what are these threats really? Or how could they really be that bad? Anyone who sat in that courtroom and heard the actual voicemails and saw the actual text messages and saw the emails and saw the handwritten letters with drawn pictures of like racist demonic figures in them that were sent to their house, those people understand, anyone who sat through that testimony and saw it, or even anybody who just has looked at the record that's been made available publicly now, understand what our clients went through and understand how horrific it was. So all of that is a long-winded way of saying I wasn't surprised that the emotional distress number was larger than the reputational damages number. And then, for punitive damages, Mr. Giuliani went out. Punitive damages are meant to punish rather than to compensate. So they're aimed at the defendant rather than the plaintiff. And, Mr. Giuliani left the court the first day after everyone in the court had heard these voicemails. They'd heard the voicemail, they'd seen videos, they'd seen all the evidence of the threats that followed the day after Mr. Giuliani went out and publicized these statements about our clients. And he went out on the courthouse steps and gave a little impromptu press conference and said, "I don't regret anything. I regret none of it." So after he said that, I was not surprised that the jury returned a large punitive damages award. I thought it could have even been larger than that.